Try that again. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Sim Experience Alwin BMW Racing Cup Season 2. It's the 2022 Season 2. It was a very late start to 2022, so it's rolled over into 2023. This is round 2, which has been very severely held up, but we are here for round 2 tonight from Brands Hatch, coming to you live from Kent in the United Kingdom. I'm joined tonight by my fellow commentator Sean Woodgate. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, Dennis.
And of course, this is our second round. Let's just have a look at our schedule for the season. This is Brands Hatch. We had Zandvoort the previous race. We will then have Mid-Ohio next week. We will be following that with the Nürburgring Grand Prix Circuit, then Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit, then Imola Grand Prix Circuit, then Road Atlanta, and finally we'll have Donington Park for the season closing round. Just a quick roundup of our points, which we haven't shown before. So just to let you know how the point system works for those that haven't been able to see all of this. For first place you get 35 points, second place 33 points, third place 31 points. So there's a 2-point gap between each of those positions. Then you drop a single point per position all the way down until you get a single point for 30th place. So points all the way up to 30th when we eventually have 30 drivers, which at the moment we I think have had the most. I think it was 25 in a race, or 26. And then just looking at our current championship positions at the moment, we have Jason Underwood, who is currently our championship leader on 68 points, from Jean-Louis de Toy 64 points, and Chris Collison on 62 points. The rest of you would like to read the rest. There is our top 15. And then also just to let you know what car we are actually driving. We are driving the BMW Cup car. It's the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup car. It is basically a 3-litre 6-cylinder 4-valve twin turbo direct injection motor, which depending on where it's from, what region it's used in, it can go between 280 to 365 horsepower depending on the BOP that gets applied. It's a 6-cylinder fixed caliber motor. Sorry, the brakes are 6-piston fixed calipers with Michelin 27 65 18 slick tires, S9 slick tires. So quite a nice set of tires on the car. It is a rear-wheel drive, but it comes equipped with stability control, and their stability control is what they call dynamic stability control and ABS included. So the drivers have access to traction control and ABS on the fly using their onboard controls. And it is a 7-speed dual clutch with a mechanical diff, but unfortunately the gearing is extremely long, so you'll see most of the drivers won't get past 5th gear. Maybe on one of the tracks they might touch 6th, but they're never going to get to 7th. But it does actually have 7 gears. So there's a little bit of info about the cars. The drivers are now heading out into qualifying, so perhaps we can go live into qualifying. I'm just doing things a little backwards here, so let's try this again. Alright, so it is officially qualifying. And once again, I am your host, Dennis Mitchell, joined again by Sean Woodgate. This is round 2 of the Alwin BMW Racing Cup.
Now, it's actually quite nice to get back from, not that I was on leave, but not get back to racing and racing commentary again. And something totally different to what we had before. All the cars are identical. It's just up to the driver and the setup and how well they use them. And of course, in my opinion, quite a tricky little circuit, Brands Hatch, when you've got so much horsepower underfoot. And we'll see how they do during the course of the race.
Yeah, definitely a track that a lot of the drivers are struggling with. And in the break between races, we've actually had an update to the car. And some of the guys are not liking it, some of the guys are liking it. So basically the car understeers a lot more than it used to, and with the fixed setup, I'm not sure if it's because the fixed setup isn't quite as good as it was before, or something has changed, or maybe there's something has changed that it doesn't suit it as much, but it's a lot harder for some of the drivers. Lap time seems slightly slower as well, so we'll see how the drivers, of course the cream of the crop always rises to the top. So we have Jason Underwood still near the top, as we would have expected with him being our defending champion. And his teammates are all up there as well. Timo Smit is up there. We have Yandre Dupinot up there. So looking forward to this. We even have James Leach in the race again. That is James Leach Jr., not James Leach Sr. currently we have 22 drivers on track.
If you know the family, that's long, James.
No, I don't. Alright, just sort of looking at the times here. We have a few new drivers that have joined us. So Team Harder Racing have expanded their team, so every team is only allowed 2 drivers. So at the moment we're looking at Jason Underwood, he's part of Team Harder Racing. Chris Collison is his teammate. But then they have their new team, which has, I'm not too sure, I'm going to butcher his name. It is Daryl Sievenracht, something like that. Forget which part of the world he's from, but he's not South African, so it's a foreign name. So hopefully you'll forgive me for butchering the name.
Dennis?
Yes.
It looks like Daryl Seawright.
Yes.
Because why I say that so easily is we have a data center in Seawright Street in downtown Johannesburg.
Oh, well, that's quite handy. I'll let you pronounce his name then.
Yeah, it's as easy as something like Seawright.
And then they have another driver, which I'm trying to find him. He's here somewhere. Matej Zenko. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct.
He's actually third, Matej Zenko. And that sounds as if it's probably, well, he's just been pushed down now he's actually gone pole. He's probably the first across the line in the qualifying run, but a name like Matej is probably Czech, Slovak, that part, the eastern side of Europe, typically Polish maybe. But yeah, I'll have a look. The surname Zenko, where that's from.
Right, it looks like we have Chris Collison that just set the fastest first sector, so let's go on board with him. See if we can follow him, hopefully for a successful lap as he goes past Garni's Thunder, which has spun off there unfortunately. Chris has a purple first sector. Let's see how his second sector fares. Nice and tight there, that looked good. So far so good. Looks clean. Sometimes it can look slow and actually be fast.
Yeah, one thing about the circuit that makes it tricky is there are quite a few dips, and then obviously after that a few climbs as well. And some of the guys like the undulation in the circuit as difference compared to Zandvoort, which is like virtually, except for the slight rise in Thousand Corner, is totally flat. This has quite a few dips as they pass in the streaming, the entrance to the pit lane, and then to finish a timed lap.
And where does that put him? Nowhere.
In the lead.
In the lead, right, that's why I didn't see him. Alright, 135.949 for Chris Collison. So Team Harder Racing at the top for now. And Team Harder Racing 1-2, and we have Jean-Ray de Toy in third.
Yeah, that's the PZN team, and they're third and fourth in Jean-Ray de Toy and Richard Sillier.
Let's have a look at one of our other drivers that have multiple feeds. Let's try. Let's see. We have. I'm just trying to think which one would be best. Trying to think on the fly while watching it at the same time. We have Peter Murray is on track at the moment. Let's have a look at what sort of input Peter is doing. So we're on board with Peter. I'm going to go to a dual view of Peter, which sure we won't be able to see this, but on the YouTube feed the guys will be able to see this for now, just so that we can. feed.
See, what they've done is somebody like the PZN team, they've got like the PZN trucking team, the PZN racing team, the PZN panel beaters team. They're sticking to the rule of 3 entrants per team, but they're getting their money's worth as far as the advertising goes.
Yes. And at least
That must be the Minions car.
It is indeed. Timo Smith.
Yeah.
At least this way there's no issues. I know in the previous series with the BTCs we had a lot of complaints about some teams being too big, and this way there's no issues with that. So the teams are split to 2. They can all be associated to each other, but it's like the Red Bull team and the AlphaTauri team. They are both the Red Bull teams, but they are separate entities now. So it's the same with the teams here.
It's got to jump to my spreadsheet to see who it was that hit the wall there, and I think it might be Chris or his teammate, one of the blue cars.
Yes, I think it was his teammate Matej, because he was back into the pits briefly.
Yes.
Alright, as we go on board with Timo, he's just started a flying lap going down through turn 1, which I've forgotten the name of.
Paddock Hill Bend.
Paddock Hill, that's it, yes. Paddock
Yeah,
Hill,
it actually starts the dip on the straight already.
Yeah, Paddock Hill and Dingledale are the 2 corners that I know the names of. The rest I always forget. I think there's a Sheen, if I'm correct.
But I actually look through my map. It depends which version you look at. Sheen's is that whole sequence of, let me just get it's right and right before you get to the left of Sterling's. So that's they go through that long straight which has the bridge going across it, and then into Hawthorne Bend. It's go through them as they go along, and then it's a little bit of a straight with a dip in it at some stage. There's not much of a dip. Then right again, I think, which is Westfield Bend. Now the dip comes along, and this makes up Dingledale, and then Sheen's. So still going right, and then they should come to the 90-degree left at Sterling's. This is Sterling's, which they go through, use a bit of the curving and some more. The next will be the pit exit. Well, not quite a pit exit. There'll be another bridge and a dip, and then the right hand, which is Clark Curve, and the completion almost. There's the exit of the track into pit lane. It continues. Yeah, also sweeps right. The end of the lap is actually quite a long way down the finish. Not a problem. The end of the lap is actually quite a long way back down the straight. It's the Brabham straight for info, and then they go through under the Brabham. Oh, he's come to a stop there, which is not very nice.
I guess because he just done his lap. He finished 0.07 off pole position.
Sure, it's going to be making it interesting for the race itself.
Our top, our top 6 are covered by less than half a second. Our top 9 are 1.3. And our complete field is covered by 5.5 seconds, or 5.4 seconds, with Harvick is currently taking up the rear of the field with 4 minutes left to go.
James Leach is 1.8 seconds off the leader. It just changed again, and maybe he's actually improved. But at the time that I said that, I think he was in 12th and 1.8 seconds off the lead. So it's nice and tight up front, less than half a second, covering the top 6.
James Leach has just got a DQ, so it's dropped him to the back of the field. Hopefully he sticks around because he will still be able to race. It just means he loses his qualifying time. So whatever he's done, he's maybe got a penalty and hasn't served it.
Right, so from the scratch, it would appear that the server is being quite strict with applying the rules.
Let's see if I'm just going to call him Matty. Does Matty improve? He doesn't. Stays in 4th place. Right, let's go see if any of the other drivers. Let's have a look at Willem Steyn for now. Willem is one of the other drivers that we have extra feed of.
in doing so.
Slightly wide there. Let's have a look at one of the other drivers for now. Let's go to Brandon Roberts. Also part of the Top Tech IT team. They have, as he loses it.
Yep, smacks the barrier.
We go over to Richard Cilliers. He's part of the PZN team. Now PZN have several drivers. Top Tech have several drivers. Team Harder Racing have several drivers. So those are the teams that have fairly big teams with multiple names.
Richard Cillier, car number 101. He's in the actual original PZN panel beaters team.
Yes, then we have PZN Trucking and PZN Racing, I believe.
That big number on the roof also helps when you see the car at a distance. Even though you got to read it upside down, that's not too much of a problem. But certainly it does help when the car goes by. If the camera is well placed, then you get the number off the roof as well. I think it's 87 or 67, just at a quick glance. There is no 87. So it must be 67. There is none of those either. That's in front of him.
I believe that's
certainly identify
87, because if you look on the windshield, you can see there's their position there, a little green number. It says that he is in 16th, and in 16th place is Daryl, and he's in number 87.
Okay.
Which we can have a look at as soon as Richard finishes his lap, which he's just done. So 34 seconds to go. So Daryl's struggling a little bit here. Alright, he's not doing so well. Let's go over to Adib perhaps. Another one of the teams that have multiple drivers is the High Revolution team. Adib Gamildian is driven in several of our series with us, so good to have him back here again. He's driven in our touring car series, and he's driven in some of our Assetto Corso series as well. I believe the MX-5 was his first series with us.
I think his name, Adib, is probably the easiest way then to do the Hamildin surname as well.
And while we're watching this, and without noticing, Jason Underwood has taken provisional pole position from his teammate Chris Collison. So we have Jason Underwood from Chris Collison from Timo Smit, top 3 covered by 0.023. So it's extremely close between the top 3.
And 0.6 of a second down to Brandon Robert in 7th.
Alright, and Deep comes across the line. Alright, let's go to Chris, because I believe Chris is still on track and possibly going to improve. He's got the fastest first sector, quarter of a second up in sector 1. Let's see if he can follow this through. Perhaps we can go to an onboard shot with him.
Oh, this is nice. Car number 22 in cockpit. And you can also see then whether they use the curbs, actually use all of the racing line there. They've actually put down curbing, shall I say, paving bricks beyond the curbing, because I think the guys are probably, well, that's using a little bit too much, and I think that'll upset the car into the grass.
And
yeah.
That's the end, yeah.
Yeah, we saw the mistake being made, actually, which we put the commentator's curse on him.
All right, and we're going to just jump to an ad break quickly while they reset. We'll be back with you shortly.
Great stuff. Team Harder Racing are giving them carrots.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, Team Harder Racing are definitely doing the business at the moment. So we're back here for race 1 of round 2 of our Alwin BMW Racing Cup Challenge or Championship. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined by Sean Woodgate once again.
Good evening, everybody.
The drivers now head out for their outlap. Just having a quick look at our season schedule. Of course, round 2, Brands Hatch. We will then be going to Mid-Ohio, then Nürburgring, then Kyalami, then Imola, Road Atlanta, and Donington Park. And then perhaps we can also just have a quick look at our... I can find it here. I'll get it eventually. We can look at our starting grid. Perhaps I can get that to show up here correctly. So in pole position we have Jason Underwood for Team Harder Racing. In second place, Chris Collison for Team Harder Racing. Timo Smit, third place for Minions Racing, and Matej Zenko for Team Harder Racing Otaku. Jean de Toy in fifth place for PZN. Richard Sillers for PZN in sixth place. Jan-Ray Dippenaar, PZN in seventh place. Brandon Roberts in eighth place for Top Tech IT. Julian Bryce in 9th place for High Revolution. Willem Steen in 10th place for Top Tech IT. Rian van der Veste in 11th place for Alwin. Andre Hildebrandt for Top Tech in 12th place. Adib Gamildian in 13th. Monet de Toy in 14th. Peter Murray in 15th. Sean Olivier in 16th. Daryl Sivenracht in 17th. 18th, Dani Stander. Wessel Viljoen in 19th. Stan Bezuidenhout in 20th. Harvey Coase in 21st and James Leach in 22nd due to his disqualification in qualifying. But thankfully he's at least able to start the race.
See, the lap scoring does put him on the outlap, so...
Yes, he is thankfully there.
Here's one of those nice dips that we see that this circuit has quite a few of. I think one that's quite tricky is at the end of the pit straight, which is Paddock Hill Bend. The downhill starts there and then through the dip and then up the hill under the bridge before they get to Druids. That must be quite a tricky part of the circuit because that's a hairpin to the right and then it's a 90-degree left at Graham Hill Bend. So quite a few undulations in this track, which I think will make it quite interesting. It's not just all pan level.
Yes. Perhaps while the drivers are coming around, we can just do a quick refresh of the championship. So our championship leader is Jason Underwood from Jean de Toy, Chris Collison, Brandon Roberts, Willem Steen, Julian Brains, I always pronounce it wrong, he always corrects me, I'll eventually get it right one day. Richard Cilliers, Hilton Nickerson, Monet du Toy, Jan-Ray Dippenaar, Tian Murray, Andre Hildebrandt, Dani Stander, Peter Murray and James Leach. That makes up our top 15 for the championship.
As we patiently wait for the lights.
Alright, so here we go. Waiting. As the drivers all take up their slots. Once everyone is correctly in their slots, we will have drivers head off. Now it looks like one of the drivers...
3, 4, 5, 6, 7th.
7th is
Brandon Robert.
Yes, so where is Brandon Robert? He is in the wrong place as we head off. Right. We're off, and the drivers all head down to turn 1. Hopefully we get a nice clean. Let's look back through the field and make sure we get a good clean start for everyone. So far so good. Yeah,
everybody got away fairly well, and everybody keeping clear of each other, giving enough leeway, enough space to actually get around the corner, which is important, because the race isn't won on turn 1. You actually have all of the races, and you've got a first finish to finish first.
And speaking of turn 1, it looks like Timo Smit got the jump on Chris Collison at the start. He's up into...
That was actually off the line. He actually had a demon start off the line, did Timo.
Alright. Right, so he's got the pace. Can he keep up with Jason? Jason has been extremely quick, but so is Timo. But it's so close there. I mean, to keep up and to pass is two different things. Let's see how he can come through. He didn't have the greatest of rounds at the previous round. So fingers crossed it goes smoother for him this time. And I think it was the same for Chris. Chris also had a bit of bad luck in the previous round.
I would say the field behind them, with Chris Collison in the lead of that pack, they probably fighting and defending each other. There's Genre as well. He's probably another 2 positions back. So that, and one of the PZN cars further back, they're going to be holding each other up. Oh, there goes the Minions car. Is it the Minions car?
It was. He's facing the right way now, so he's gone right around, but he's lost quite a few places, down to 7th place now.
Yeah, 1 wheel on the gravel and away she went. It looks like these cars are very, very sensitive, and especially in race trim, I think, and the speeds, you're trying to get the most out of it. But let's see now, Jason Underwood pops into the lead with Chris Collison second, so it's Team Harder Racing first and second and third with Matej Zenko. Genre de Toy and Richard Cillier are the first 2 PZN Racing and including Westfield, Dingledale, then Cheese. There's another car with the wheels off. Does he keep it on? Yes, he does.
So just changing here, there's a battle, 3-way battle here at the moment for, I believe this is battle for 4th place.
I think it's Mono de Toy. If that green is probably Mono de Toy, is it in panel beaters? Is that Genre?
The yellow I think is Monet, green is Genre.
Sure.
But it looks like Genre at the moment is hanging in there nicely. Well, the fastest middle sector just set by Brandon Roberts at the moment. In fact, he's just got the fastest lap of the race at 36.702, which is the identical lap time to what Jason Underwood just did. We don't see that very often, where the fastest lap is duplicated by 2 drivers.
I think it's happening when Murray Walker was still commentating in Formula 1. I recall it happening once. That to the thousands.
Yes, there was that Jerez race where the top 3 drivers qualified on the exact same lap times. It was Michael Schumacher, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, it was. The odds of that ever happening again must be stupendous.
Yeah, that
nonetheless.
was Jerez 97, I think.
Yeah. And at the moment, it looks as though the first and second place, they seem to be settling into a rhythm, and I don't think there's much that anybody's going to be able to do to catch them. That's Jason Underwood. He's car number 1, and 22 is Chris Collison. As we say that, they both just touch the curbing and a little bit more, and Chris Collison actually goes off the track slightly, but manages to keep it going in a straight line.
So lots of action happening. There's some gaps forming, but some close racing throughout the field at the moment. So if we have a look at Timo sort of dropped right down the field. He went down to 10th place. He's now back up to 8th place.
So he's made up a few, and there's a chance of him catching in this race still. Let me see who's in front of Timo's 84. I'm just trying to catch the other car that's in yellow. Is that really in front of Westhuizen?
It's Willem in front of him.
Okay.
Number 63. So he's in his sights at the moment. On the stream we've got the dual view going, so we can see trackside and we can see bonnet view from Timo.
I'm staying racing for Top Tech IT. They are trying their utmost. That car's
drift there.
Yeah, I was going to say that car is tail happy if you put the power on. But I think the more that you do that and get accustomed to it, it's not good for the tires, but at least if you get the car going out of the corner, you have a good exit speed, and then if there's a bit of a straight, then you can use that exit speed to your advantage.
Right, let's go back to, let's just see where one of our other drivers are that perhaps can give us something a bit more entertaining to look at as well. Let's have a look at Julian, who at the moment is, I believe, fighting off his teammate. Vessel is closing in on him, so let's see how that goes.
That's quite a distance ahead. Also nice to have that number on the bonnet. Thank you very much, Julian. Certainly makes commentary a lot easier. And also, if you've got your sponsor name on the bonnet, I can read upside down, High Revolution. So it helps as well that we can call that out immediately.
Nice line there.
I actually corrected the line as he was halfway through the corner. Quite a long time that he feathered the throttle for the corner. The few times that I've had the privilege of going around a racetrack, I've been told by a fairly good racer, he says rather go one gear down and a few revs up you'll be at slower speed through the corner, and then once you're through the corner do the gear change. But I suppose it's personal racing style.
And we see Andre Hildebrand taking a look at Harvey Goos.
Yeah. Harvey seems to be a bit more in his comfort zone in these cars than what he was in the British touring cars. He's getting used to racing this. I wouldn't say getting used to. He seems to be racing this a lot better than what he was in the BTCC championship.
Harvey Goos has definitely had a bit of a hard time getting used to the controls in rFactor. His controls, the controls that he has, which is Logitech. He's just struggled to get their feel. He drove a Automobilista race the other night, and he was the fastest driver. He actually set the pole position times and won the race. So it shows he's still got it. You just have to have the right feel and controls and everything in your favor.
What category of car was it, Dennis?
I'm not sure if that was the Formula V's or a different car they were driving. I know they did start off with Formula V's and then change. So it might have been the Formula V's.
Well, if it was a Formula V, he's a multiple champion in 3 decades. He's won the Formula V Championship of South Africa, I think the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. So that's probably why he was comfortable in a Formula V.
Yes, there's no one qualified. And there goes Andre up the inside.
Yeah. Andre Hildebrand, and also Harvey, being the gentleman that he is, gave him space, didn't shut the door. He was making the car a little bit wide at the entrances into the corners, but at the one place that he did commit to the corner, he actually allowed Andre to go around the outside, no problem. So Harvey is stuck with lucky number 13 for him. His Sasol sponsored car. It's actually the GDR racing team.
I've noticed that we don't have Yondre Dippenaar in the race. I'm not sure what's happened to Yondre. I see we only 21 drivers and Yondre is not here, so perhaps Yondre has had an issue and hasn't been able to carry on.
I actually made it to the start, I didn't check.
Yeah, we were 22 drivers at one point. We see James Leach is running slightly wide there. James Leach has slowly worked his way up from 22nd on the grid to 16th. So when the grid started, we did have 22nd,
which was James.
For James. So we had that extra place. So I presume it's during the race we've had an issue. I'm not sure if it was at the start perhaps. But that's unfortunate. So James has at least worked his way forward in the race. As I say that, he loses the rear.
Yeah, commentator's cursing. He has it all over the show on the grass. The place not to put the foot down is on the grass. Once you have it back on the tarmac, you can get the car lined up and try it again.
Of course, the drivers will have a top 10 reverse grid for race 2, so they need to be in the top 10. The driver in 10th place will be starting in pole position. The driver in 11th will start from 11th in race 2. And race 2 will be a rolling start.
The car we see now, number 777, is that Jean-Ray du Toit?
That's Monet du Toit.
Is that Monet? So then I just need to swap them around on my list that I have here. And Jean-Ray is running 737.
Yes. The
Okay.
other Boeing,
Yeah.
yes.
Boeing Brigade. As they carry on down Willem Stein's car that we see there.
Actually, I had the camera on the wrong view. I had the dual view, but the cameras weren't matching, and then I suddenly realized I'm supposed to have been in studio mode, and I had it in the live mode. So apologies for that. But we can at least see.
And that's Timo Smit. Timo Smit catching up rapidly to
Yes.
take up one more position, and we'll see if he can actually do that. Timo's made it up to 8th, and he's got Willem Steyn in front of him. So that's for 7th and 8th that they're fighting it out now. They seem to be evenly matched in speed. It's just racecraft, and depending at what point you want to start your braking, how much of a chance you're willing to take. I think this is the portion where it goes right, and right. So to get on the outside of the car is not going to help you much, and Timo comes back. Then there's the dip that you've got to contend with as well, which on the turn is the dip, so that unbalances you a bit more. Here he comes up the inside now, but it's still, this time left-hander, so he's on the outside. So he just tucks in behind him now. Yeah. Yeah, that certainly makes for interesting viewing to see it from the bonnet of the car chasing, and then from the guy that's actually doing the defending. It's really close that they get. He tries up to, he's just a little bit earlier on the brakes for that corner than what Willem is, but give it a chance. I didn't actually take note of the time that they started the race. So we have run, how long are we going to run this race, Dennis? Okay, so there's plenty of racing still to come, and Timo has still got a lot of work to do to see whether he can get past Willem Steyn. I tries the other side of the road. Yeah. I think he's probably got, if he were to be running in a qualifying all on his own, he's probably a little bit quicker than Willem, but Willem is really using the corners and the positioning of the car very well to ensure that Timo doesn't come past him. Willem Steyn runs the Top Tech IT Otuka Life car number 63, and the Minions car number 84 is Timo Smit. Found the numbers, Dennis. They're in the vehicle description.
Yes.
So they're not a column on their own, so it makes life a lot easier as well.
Okay, so they're all actually there. It's just an okay.
Yes.
So this battle continues. While this is continuing, we can perhaps jump to one of the other battles. For now, they seem to have spread out slightly, so Willem has held off the charging Timo. Oh, as I say, that Timo comes extremely close on the brakes.
I thought at one stage Timo was taking a break, but if you look at how the back end of the car is stepping out, he's definitely not taking a break, and he's getting at Willem Steyn with all his worth, even using those cobblestones, which I think were put there exactly for that purpose. Cars were maybe going off into the gravel or into the grass, and rather than lose the cars, they put some paving down, and the cars still have at least some grip to stay on the road.
Timo having a look again. Is he going to get past?
He's very, very close.
Oof, not really on the bumper there.
It's again the right-hander that looms, but I don't think the speed differential is enough, and I'm not sure how much slipstreaming these cars actually allow with the wing. So you've actually got to rely on pressure, and see if he can get Willem to actually make a mistake.
Yeah, he's certainly putting Willem under a lot of pressure.
He is making a few mistakes himself as well, as behind them, Monet de Toy loses the back end of his car. That will be number 777. Just saw it as they in the distance. So we'll see that Monet was. I'm just trying to see the gap between them. But Monet, I think, might drop down a position. Look at these two. Now it's neck and neck, and the corner is a right-hander, and it's downhill as well, which makes the oil touching there. Rubbing is racing, so they say.
At least it's yellow and yellow, so you won't notice it.
Yes.
Changing paint. And Timo trying around the outside. I think he might.
This is this hairpin.
He's got it.
And
done.
it's yeah. Now he can put his car in the way and actually take the racing line that he prefers rather than to be following. So change for 7th and 8th. Timo Smit up to 7th and Willem Steyn now in 8th position. The car numbers: Timo Smit 84, Willem Steyn is number 63.
And our top three, which is all Team Harder Racing drivers.
They're a lot closer.
Yes, and Chris has closed right down. He was actually within 3/10, and now it's up to 4/10 again. So extremely close between them.
Yeah. And it looks, well, just by what we've been watching for a second or three, is that Jason is a little bit ragged out of that corner with the pressure that's coming from Chris behind him. And maybe Matej is just biding his time in 3rd position. But it's going to be a very, very blue podium. And it's going to be harder and harder. And the way they're going now. But certainly in which order they're going to finish, that's still going to be decided. As I say again, Jason goes a little bit wide coming out of that corner. And he's going to stick the nose in. No, Chris decides not to do it there.
And in our YouTube chat, we've got Sam Wooldridge saying, "Go, Mr. Zengto." So I guess that's Matej. And
yes.
Rudy van der Westhuizen saying hello to us commentators. And Team PZN, hello Rudy, good to have you with us.
Hi Rudy, certainly nice to be commentating again. And if one isn't trackside, then at least this is as good as. And you have all the life comforts that in a break you can actually take the kettle. Or you can do that in the commentary tower as well, is make a cup of coffee. But certainly exciting racing for 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And it's often, you get races where the race leader goes off into the sunset like a cowboy on the back of his horse. But then you go and look at the rest of the lap scoring monitor to see where there is something that you can commentate on. But it's really nice when you can actually have a battle in front of you, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And Matej is really doing everything he can to get at Chris Collison.
Yes.
And I think that's why Chris has given a bit of space to Jason, because he's under pressure from Matej.
Yeah, he's gone from attacking to defending.
Correct. So that changes the race strategy as they come to finish another lap.
It's 5.5 minutes left to go, so probably about 4, maybe they can stretch another lap out of the time, but I think it's about 4 laps left of racing.
So interesting as they go around. Matej using the circuit and a bit. Now he's right up there with Chris Collison. So Chris, a bit of a step out there on the back end as well. So these cars are big, they're heavy, they've got a lot of horsepower, 3-litre 6-cylinder, and big brakes, big
back marker as well. Sorry to butt in. I believe it's Peter Murray they're coming up to.
So Peter will probably get the blue flags, and Peter is running in 21st and last place, so he'll probably stay out of the way. Peter Murray running car number 420, that's PZN trucking car, and he stays on the wide side of the road and allows them a lot of space. Well done, Peter.
Yeah.
He's actually onto the grass. You don't have to be so courteous, Peter, but I'm sure they'll say thank you very much anyway.
Now, sometimes they can put a driver off more than a driver that's not where they should be on the track.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if they're going to come back on with control or not.
The few times that I have had the fortune of going around a racetrack in a car at speed, while driving it myself and having the owner or the competitor in the car next to me, they say, you keep the racing line that you're going to race normally. If they're quicker than you, they're going to make a point and they're going to pass you. Just stick to the line. Don't do something unless you show them early before the corner that you're actually going to go way off the racing line, as Peter just did there, then that's the right thing to do. I'm just going to jump back to see who's coming up behind Peter there. It's not Harvey. I'm just trying to see who's in one of the, it's the green cars. So we'll find that. Donnie Standard, mate. Genre is in 737. You say Donnie is not?
Donnie's a green car, yes, it could be Donnie.
Yes,
Donnie's an 8,
and then
it could be.
Okay, so yeah, those are the cars for the. I only see now that Donnie Standard is a teammate of Harvey Goos in GDR Racing.
Yes, they're a family.
Okay.
I believe that's the G and the D. I believe that's Harvey Donnie Racing, if I'm correct.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Donnie is Harvey's son-in-law.
Okay, then also I haven't seen Harvey in probably decades.
I actually was fortunate enough to see him and Donnie in the past week for breakfast.
Oh, great stuff.
They were down here in Cape Town, so we all went for breakfast.
Nice. You say Harvey, I think he's in Neisner now.
Yes. Yeah, they were down here in Cape Town for a bit of a break, and we happened to get a break where we could all get together and just our families just get together, go for a nice breakfast and catch up, which was awesome.
Neisner being my birth town, of course. Not that I remember it very well. I was very small at the time.
Just having a quick look at some of the other drivers here. We have Stan Zayden right in front of Donnie Stunder at the moment. Cool.
IBF USA, car number 36. That's Stan Zayden in the black. A nice bold number. That's also another thing with a nice contrast. If you see such a big number, there's a few of them actually that are nice and big. Rudy van der Westhuizen 518 is one, 420 Peter Murray is one. If I just have a quick glance, I haven't seen Sean Johnson, the JMPD car, and the other one, which I'm just trying to think who that was, in the police car. Sean Johnson in the one, and Sean Weber, the bad boys car, in the SAPS car. I haven't seen them at all tonight.
Yes, they're not here tonight. So a few drivers aren't here tonight. So a good field, but still a few that aren't here. I guess we're going ahead irrespective of load shedding. Perhaps they have load shedding tonight.
Oh, there's a nice drift in front of Donnie. 243 is Donnie Stunder, and as you said before, sometimes the guy doing funny things in front of you actually upsets you a lot more than it did upset him, and that was Stan Besaidnout that got out of shape. And it's actually Donnie Stunder that was going to overtake him that actually got it into the barrier.
Yes.
So, somebody else coming out of corner all over the show.
I think that was Donnie still trying to recover, and they've just passed him.
And the race leaders had to get past him, yeah. So, there's Genre going through in the PZN panel beaters car number 737, the green one. One more lap complete. How much time, Dennis?
Just under 40 seconds.
Okay, so that's
5 seconds to go.
Yeah, this will be the last lap then.
So Genre can see the top three. He's been catching them ever so slightly, I think, as they're busy battling it out there. And the lap times between the top four have all been roughly 36.5s. Fastest time of the race so far is a 36.3 by Matej.
When last do you recall a lap or a race that you've got the top four in the same view from car number 4?
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, really good racing and everything to race for. So any mistake from the Team Harder guys in front of him, and Genre is going to be there flying the flag for PZN Racing.
Oh, someone had spun there on the exit of the corner there. So hopefully that doesn't cause any carnage to anyone coming through. We're going to just stick with these guys because this is the final lap and this is the battle for first. Chris is now on the attack again.
Just for those that don't know the names, it's Jason Underwood, Team Harder Racing number 1. He's first. Chris Collison, Team Harder Racing number 22 is second. Matej Zenko, Team Harder Ukuri number 86 is third. And Genre Toy PZN Racing number 737 is in fourth position, the green car.
This is fantastic to see how close these guys are at the moment.
And great racing as well.
Yeah, nice and clean. Unfortunately, we see Donnie Stunder got a DNF, so that didn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, and it was all nothing of his doing. He was just in the wrong place at the right time.
So the top four,
and that's the race.
Jason Underwood taking race 1 victory. Chris Collison and Matej. Andre Toy in 4th. Richard Sillers comes across the line in 5th place. Brandon Robert comes across to take 6th place. Timo Smith did a little bit of a recovery up to 7th place, so at least he's in the 3rd spot for race 2. Monet Dutoy will hopefully take 8th place.
Wait for him to come across the line. Monet's gone across. Daryl Sivright is in 9th.
Daryl's a little bit further back. At least Daryl's also worked his way through the pack. He also didn't have the greatest start, and he's gone forward, which is good. He's now in the top 10, so he'll start in the front row in 2nd place for race 2.
Yeah, Willem Steyn will be the pole man for race 2.
Oh, will he?
The top tech
Right on his bumper. It looks like he'll just hold him off.
Yeah, just enough. It's a 3-car length or so.
I'm sure Rian is really upset about that, because that would have been a pole position. Julian coming across the line there.
So Rian will start in 11th, although he was only half a second or so behind the guy that's going to start in pole. But that's the way it works with the reverse grid.
Alright, well, we're going to jump to an ad break quickly, and then, well, I say quickly, it'll be a while. We just need to go reset the server and form the grid. So we need to wait for the server to give the results. We'll form the grid from that with a reverse top 10, and we'll be back shortly after.
Right.
laps. Alright, welcome back everyone. Apologies for my little finger boo-boo there, but we are back. We are back for race 2 of our championship. Race 2 of round 2 from Brands Hatch, coming to you live from Kent in the United Kingdom. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined once again by Sean Woodgate for race 2. Race 2, of course, is a reverse grid, rolling start reverse grid, top 10 reverse grid. So in pole position we have Willem Steyn. We will run through the grid order shortly. Let me just get everything correctly up here. Hopefully I can get everything rolling in a moment. But while we are waiting for that, let's just do a quick championship standings. For those that want to see, Jason Underwood coming into this round was our championship leader from Jean-Louis du Toit, Chris Collison, Brandon Robert, Willem Steyn, Julian Brains, Richard Silius, Hilton Nixon, Monet du Toit, Yandere Dippenaar, Tian Murray, Andre Hildebrand, Donnie Stander, Peter Murray and James Leach for our top 15. Alright, let's have a quick look at our starting order. If I can get that to run correctly, which at the moment I'm having some finger troubles, so let's try that again. And apologies for it saying the wrong track name on the top right. Alright, so in pole position, Willem Steyn. In second place, Daryl, I'm sure you can pronounce the name there, Sean. Monet du Toit in third, and Timo Smit in fourth. Brandon Robert in fifth place, Richard Silius in sixth, Jean-Louis du Toit in seventh, Matej Zenko in eighth. In ninth place, Chris Collison. In 10th place, race 1, Victor Jason Underwood, and current champion. Rian van der Westhuizen in 11th, Julian Brains in 12th. 13th, we have Wessel Viljoen. Andre Hildebrand in 14th, Adib Gamildian in 15th, James Leach in 16th. In 17th, Sean Olivier. In 18th, Peter Murray. In 19th, Stan Bezuidenhout. In 20th, Donnie Stander. In 21st, Harvey Goos. 22nd, Yandere Dippenaar. 23rd, Hilton Nixon. And in 24th place, Rudy van der Westhuizen. So 2 extra drivers have joined for race 2. So the drivers will now slowly make their way around, following the safety car, keeping in position, making sure not to jump the car ahead, otherwise you do get a penalty. And I believe it is a drive-through penalty, which is definitely not something you want. Alright, so Willem Steyn, currently our pole sitter from Daryl Sievenracht. Am I saying
He's right.
Yes. I'll get it right eventually. Probably by the last race of the season. Safety car really is taking it nice and easy. The safety car pulling at that point to get the green flag, but they're not allowed to pass until they cross the finish line.
Yeah.
Let's see as we go. Time has gone. Drivers are away.
Certainly first and second have got a nice start and have accelerated to get a bit of a gap between themselves and I think Timo Smit and who's the other one, Monet du Toit, are the 2 cars that are in third and fourth. They're a little bit further back, but everybody keeping it nice and clean. We were talking about it while we were resetting for race 2, that I think you've got to survive turn 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when it goes down the back straight, that's where you can actually go racing again. But if you survive the first 4 corners, then specifically the quicker guys that are in 10th, 9th, 8th, those positions, they'll probably only go racing once they get into nice clear air. Oh, there's a bit of the track used and some more. It was a bit of a moment, I think, for number 22.
No, that was 86 Matej.
86 is Matej, and he finished third. So that's why I said that's the bit that you've got to survive. Where they are now is Hawthorne Bend, and this is a sequence of right-handers that just go on and on and on, with undulations in the circuit as well. Makes the circuit very interesting, as the Minions car still going strong, number 84. So, well, Timo Smit in third position, So as I said, the guys that really got a good start were Willem Steyn and Darrell Seavright. When the lights went, well, when they got across the start-finish line, they really had the pedal down and got away from Timo Smit. And Timo Smit seems to be settling into position now, and then there's a big battle behind him. Must be at least 5 cars.
And Willem Steyn doing well outside in the front at the moment. He's actually pulling away slightly from Darrell.
I think Morna is up on the inside of Timo for, was that John Ray? The green car nonetheless, whichever one of the two it is. Nice to see that.
Yes, John Ray.
Yes, both of them running together and putting pressure on each other, and I misplaced it for the Minions car, which is number 84 Timo Smit. He's still running in isolation, but nice to see the PZN panel beater. They colleagues, but they definitely are competitors out there on the circuit.
Let's see if Jean-Ray can catch up to the top 3 now. Apparently Jean-Ray is one of our top drivers in the championship, so this could be a good round of points haul for him if he can have a few drivers between himself and, let's say, the likes of Jason Underwood and Chris Collison further down in 9th and 10th place.
You recall in the first race that Timo was running 3rd or 4th, and then we put the curse on him, and he made a mistake, and he started 3rd and got going well. We started in the top 3 and is going well, and he's probably one of the guys that has the pace to actually stay there. Not saying that Willem and Darrell do not, but the way things are going now, he seems to be very comfortable, and he's creeping up on Darrell Seavright, and the top 3 are very, very close, with Jean-Ray de Toy catching up to them quite a bit as we speak.
I think the problem with Timo is that he's a very polite guy, and when he catches up to someone, he waits patiently for his moment and ends up getting caught up in incidents because of that. He ends up where he shouldn't be, and that's what sometimes happens if the guy in front brakes slightly harder than you were expecting, and that just puts you off, and then you end up in the barrier.
Yeah, as we just said, that Darrell came into the last corner, in my opinion, a little bit too wide, which should have given Timo a chance to actually dive up on his inside, even if it's only as far as his back door, and they just hold that position. Yeah, that's exactly what he's done. So that mistake was actually made on the last corner, and the overtake actually happened way down at turn 1, or it was confirmed at the bottom end of turn 1. And now Timo is chasing up on Willem Steyn. Oh, and that's not the way you want to do it, Willem?
No. Rubbing again between these two, like there was in previous race?
First race, yeah. And Timo Smit is into the lead with the Minions, number 84.
And now he gets under attack by everyone. He lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah, he gets away because there's a battle raging behind him, and that's being the number 63 car, Willem Steyn, and behind that, Darrell Seavright, Jean-Ray de Toy, Morna de Toy, one of the PZN cars into the barrier off there.
That's Richard Cilliers going down the order there.
Yep. And he was high up, and he's with the cars so close together and so early in the race, he's going to lose a lot of positions very quickly as they come flying by.
And it looks like it's possibly collected Jason Underwood. He's gone down the field pretty fast as well, which is of course
bad news. Yes, Jason, well, he was in 18th as I cast my eyes down. Jason 19th now, so certainly not a great lap. Wonder whether he is able to rejoin, and he stayed ahead. No, he's gone down to 20th position as Jason Underwood. So whether that car is still able to be driven remains to be seen, but certainly an event there that has put a very big, or potentially a big impact on the championship, unless that's the one that Jason chooses to discard.
Yes, and of course Chris Collison benefited from that because he's now up to 7th place. He was directly behind Jason on track.
I was trying to see, Chris has got Matej, who's also a teammate in front of him. Matej's just gone past Darrell Seavright, who was one of the top 3 as they came through, and Darrell was the one I think that made a bit of the mistake. But Timo Smit has a 3-second gap on Willem Steyn, and I think he's going to be making the best of that. Once again, I didn't take note of the time when they started, but I'm sure you'll keep me informed as we go along.
Yes, so currently at the moment we have just under 19 minutes to go, it's 18 minutes 50 odd seconds.
That's 10 past on my clock.
Hilton Nixon challenging Donnie Stunder at the moment, so Hilton missing the first race, I presume due to load shedding, and able to at least make the second.
Yeah, he's up to 17th, challenging for 16th.
Yeah.
And Donnie Stander is the GDR Racing teammate of Harvey Goos. So he's car number 243. Hilton Nickerson is car number 135.
Yeah, I think some of the drivers get a bit despondent when they have bad results, but they need to remember you do drop rounds, so whether you drop it due to load shedding or whether you drop it due to it being your worst round, it doesn't matter. You drop your worst rounds. As we see Timo Smith doing the fastest lap of 136.692.
And being in the lead, that means he's now up the lead to, let me find the column, 3.4 seconds. That he's ahead of Jean-Ray Dutoy. So he certainly is flying along. Has all the purples. Nice to see the colors as per Formula 1 as well. If a lap is marked in purple, that's the fastest lap of the race. And of course, it's his own personal best for the race. So that'll be purple as well. If it was his personal best only, it would be in green. Jean-Ray Dutoy, a personal best of 137.3, but that doesn't come close to Timo Smith's 136.7. So just to give you an idea of the times that they are, and that was the last lap times.
Which was also now in the fight with these two as well. Sorry to butt in there between Donnie and Hilton.
So Morne is trying it out, and that makes the, what shall I call it, the last 1/3 of the race quite interesting, because it's only those three cars in sight, but they're having the race of their life and making it very interesting for us in commentary as well. It's car number, let's find the first one, 243. So that's Donnie Stander, Morne Dutoy. They're certainly fighting it out there with each other. The 777 car is Morne Dutoy. Nice big bold number. I say that, sorry if I sound like a stuck record, but if you have a big bold number, it just makes it so much easier to identify the car. The fact that it's bright canary yellow as well certainly helps. But yeah, they are at each other and still fighting it out. Number 777, Morne Dutoy, even though he's attacking and defending at the same time, he's the meat in the sandwich, he's giving it all it's worth because the back end of the car stepping out as he goes along.
Right, and as we're watching Vessel challenging Sean Ulipe, and he makes a slight mistake, so he definitely had a run on him and just got it all wrong in the braking zone.
Yeah, just too wide on through the corner, and then had to come right off the gas, and that loses the momentum, and you've got to collect yourself and your wits all over again. But nonetheless, he still has him in sight, and they say that's great motivation when you're racing, if you can actually see the car in front of you, because then you can gauge how far you are and whether you're catching up to him visually, which certainly does help.
Right, so let's see what's happening with some of the drivers. So at the moment, let's see, we have Willem Steyn currently in 5th place. He, of course, is one of our drivers that has got his feed that he's sharing with us, so we can show that to you.
You have Brandon Robert, number 412. He's right up against Daryl Seavright. That's that's 7th and 6th. Cars number, Daryl's in 87 and Brandon's in 412.
Perhaps we can go to a onboard with Brandon.
There we go.
Shot like that.
Yeah, and in front of Daryl is Willem Steyn. So that's a 3-car battle that's happening. This is that tricky bit that is turn 1, because as you start turning into the corner, it actually goes downhill. And then, there he's got to actually avoid it. He was actually much faster into the corner than Daryl was. And had he not taken evasive action, I think he would have run into the back of him. So Daryl Seavright runs on and a bit off the circuit, and now's the time to position it inside of him and just hold, and it's left, and he has the racing line. So I think that'll be one position up for number 412. Brandon Robert goes past Daryl for 6th position, and he's then hunting Willem Steyn.
We're seeing, looking backwards from Willem Steyn as well, so we can see Brandon on the charge, and we're seeing him looking forward, bonnet view at the same time as well, so we're seeing both views, the hunter and the hunted.
Yeah.
As we see, look at Daryl's challenging again, he's having a look. Brandon a bit of a reminder that he's still there.
Yeah. It was just a little mistake that actually got him a little bit wide, which allowed Brandon to come, if I can get my tongue and my brain into the same gear, allowed him to come up onto the inside on the left with a left-hand corner approaching. So that just sort of gave him the corner, and he just held onto it very nicely, got the speed right, and made the best of that and took up the position. And now, of course, he will be chasing Willem Steyn. Let's look at the last laps. Willem Steyn, actually watch them as they cross the line, then I'll give you the last laps for each of them. As Willem goes across, the last lap, a 130, now that's the fastest. The last lap was a 138.46 and Brandon a 138.56. So Brandon by 0.1 of a second slower than Willem, so Willem is holding on to that position quite well at the moment. And in the distance ahead of them, at quite a distance ahead, they have Chris Collison and Matesh. And Matesh is back up to third, where it's the position he finished race 1. So he's got back into his favourite place again. And he's got to see let's see what the gap is. He's got about 3 seconds to Jean-Ray du Toit, which is quite a decent gap, and Jean-Ray has the same on Timo Smit. Timo Smit really is going really well to have a 3-second lead and sustain a 3-second lead for ahead of the guy that is in second place behind him, which is Jean-Ray du Toit, PZN Racing number 737.
And we have Brandon getting really close to Willem at the moment. It looked like he had a good run there.
Curbing.
There we go.
Yeah, curbing. And you see the mistake, and you see, you shouldn't have done that. And immediately he pounces, and it's just probably 30 centimeters too much curbing. Lift the wheels into the air, 2 wheels less on the ground, 2 wheels less grip, and 1 wheel less drive, and he went in and passed him like a shot.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Now will Darrell be able to get through as well on Willem? Willem is slowly going backwards as he's being swallowed up by the pack.
If you look at the last laps, Willem did a 138.46 and Darrell a 139.75. But I think it might have included that moment that he just had off the curbing as well. So we'll wait and see.
Let's look once again back from Willem's view while we look at the dual view.
So Willem has 0.6 of a second between himself, now 0.8 of a second between himself and Darrell will be trying his utmost to get at him.
We're getting a nice
Darrell
line there, which is good up the hill, will carry a bit more momentum.
I think that yellow line that goes across it demarcates one of the sectors in which they actually prime the sectors, and I suppose they don't have it in here. They give the timing for sector 1, but not for sector 2 and 3. But I think that is probably an indication. Not quite sure where it is. I'll keep an eye out for it. But you hear in Formula 1 that the best theoretical lap time is the combined best sector times, and often you have 3 sectors in a race or in a lap, and you might have 3 different drivers that are the quickest in the 3 sections. So the theoretical fastest lap time is quicker than any one of them on his own could have achieved.
That's right, yeah.
There's again the pit lane entrance, and they're coming up to finish this lap. Let's see who's quickest out of this bunch again.
Perhaps while we're watching them, we can also just jump to the leaders and just see what's happening up front, as they are in their own battles at the moment as well. So I think that
just looking at the lap scoring monitor,
quite close.
Tino's flying now. He's 4.3. Well, he was 4.3. Well, now down to 4 seconds. So Jean-Ray is having a good go. But 4 seconds is a big gap to catch up in these cars. So
And I think Jean-Ray is likely to be caught by Matej quicker, and then Jean-Ray is likely to get defensive, and then the gap to Timo is likely to grow at that stage.
Yeah. We did say in the first race that Timo was, quicker than what the accident or the incident allowed him to be, but he recovered well. But this time he's just decided, I'm in the front and I'm going to make the best use of it. And now Jean-Ray and Matej will soon be competing for second position. That's if Matej can get, it's only 1.8 seconds, we say only, but and then a further 1 second from Matej to Chris Collison. But that's, as you can see it on the road as they go through under the Brands Hatch Bridge. And
the previous lap, Matej did the fastest lap of the race, the 396, where Jean did a 37.1, but yet the gap has grown throughout this lap, so he's made a slight mistake or two, or Jean has gone quicker this lap. We'll see as they cross the line now. And now, no, much the same time from Jean, and Matej was slightly slower. So yeah, the gap still 1.2 seconds at the moment. So Jean is actually close slightly on Timo, down to 3.7 now.
Sorry, a green for Chris Collison, so he's put in his best lap time.
Yes.
And now we've got all the sector times coming up as well, all of a sudden, that we can see who's putting up their personal bests in the sectors. And Chris Collison had a best in sectors 2 and 3, and that in combination, the previous lap gave him best lap time the last time round.
Alright, so we'll keep an eye on these guys. Let's just have a quick look at Daryl. Daryl's right up behind Willem again.
Yeah. Just wondering if Daryl's Scottish by any chance, because he certainly is flying the colours.
Yes, he could be.
If you look on the bonnet, so
we're getting a nice close view from the tail of Willem's car at the moment, looking back at Daryl's bonnet.
Daryl number 87, Team Hardo Ukuri, and racing for all he's worth, getting good drive out of the corner there. And certainly is going to be giving Willem Steyn a headache pretty soon.
Taking a bit too much curve, losing a little bit of traction there, but managing to keep the line.
Now this is a tricky corner, as I said to you during the break. I think it must be a very, very nice track to drive at speed. Certainly because you're working all the time. I don't think is the only chance you have to relax slightly is this bit of a straight that they come on the finish line now, where you could probably flex your fingers slightly and make sure the car's positioned correctly for turn 1, and then the back straight, which is out of Surtees all the way to Hawthorne Bend. But thereafter it's work all the time and making sure you've got the track just positioned well so that you get the best exit speed and keeping in mind what corner is coming up next and where you need to be.
I'm going to just quickly jump to another battle, because we do have another battle brewing on track. We have a couple actually, but at the moment it looks like we have Andre Hildebrandt challenging Sean Olivier here. This is for the lower position, but this will be for top 10 position.
Yeah, Sean Olivier running car number 5 in 10th, and Andre Hildebrandt, the Top Tech IT Chrome team, number 72. So let's see, this is car number 72 as we speak. And that is Sean Olivier in the, well, he just says he's in the BMW M2 CS Racing, car number 5, so he's being challenged. And if you look at the gap that was between them, it's half a second, 0.6. So certainly things are happening there, but they seem to be holding station for now.
They were a bit closer just now. They were actually just under 2/10, and then it sort of expanded a bit, of course, as I started to watch it. But
Yeah.
we will go back to the other gaps in a moment. I'm just watching the gaps throughout the different sectors. It looks like Daryl is our closest battle, and then Andre and Sean are our second closest battle. As Sean gets it out of shape and into the barrier, and he looks like he rolled the car there, and he did indeed.
Yeah, and that's not going any. So then all in isolation now he goes, so no battle to be fought. Here's another close one. This is the one we were watching earlier as well.
So let's have a look at from a slightly different point of view, so we can.
Willem Steyn holding on for dear life ahead of Daryl Severite. Yeah, running a bit of the middle of the road, which is allowed, but you're not allowed to change direction more than once. Although that's been contested in Formula One, where they say I was running one line and then I went onto the racing line. But yes, it was 2 directional changes, but they seem to be. The thing is with that, you tend to miss the apex, and then you're actually running the road and not running your natural racing line, which might make you a little bit slower, whereas the guy behind you can run his normal line and then think about what to do when he's a lot closer to you. We were saying as well that the setup of these cars, some of the guys liked it, some of the guys didn't, but it looks as though everybody's settled into running the cars with what they've got. And certainly the first race we were talking about, it's not often that you have the first 4 competitors within the same view from the 4th car, that you can see all 4 cars on the same piece of track. And now if he's going to cut up on the inside, does he align? No, he's got to go out to the outside again. Does he have a slipstream? Remember, it's a downhill turn 1 to the right. So it's very difficult unless he can undercut him. No, couldn't make it work that time. Here he comes in now. But it's the hairpin that's coming up. So that'll be a slow corner to the right, and it just goes on and on and on. And he actually gets it wrong himself, does Daryl, which costs him about 4 car lengths coming out of the hairpin.
He's trying hard though, but it's very difficult to get past here.
Yeah, it's easy to sit here, but that's what commentators do. We just tell you what we see, and you can actually see the mistake being made. You've seen a few of them tonight, and you can then immediately thereafter see that instead of being half a car length behind, he's now 5 or 6 even more car lengths behind, and then Willem can have a bit of breathing space again, which he appreciates, I'm sure. So Willem staying car number 63, going strong and surviving. But Daryl, in losing a bit of time to Willem, has Rian van der Westhuizen, which is now less than a second in the Alwin Racing number 69 car. Rian van der Westhuizen potentially catching up to him as well.
Yes, so Rian's also hopefully going to be an opportunist and maybe can steal another place or 2.
That's the team you run for, Dennis?
At the moment, Rian's lap time was a 38.7, whereas the guys in front were 39.2, so about half a second a lap faster at the moment, and there is just under 2 minutes left to go in the race.
So it'll be this lap, 2 more than likely. Because they've just gone across, well, the race leaders are ahead of them, so they'll definitely have 2 more laps. Now, these 3 positions could become very interesting still towards the end of the race. Behind Willem is Daryl, 0.6, 0.7 a second, and behind Daryl is Rian, 0.4, 0.5 of a second. So everything to fight for. The Jack Daniels car number 69 is Rian van Westhuizen.
And while we're watching this, I'm keeping an eye on the leaders. So the leaders, Timo's gap is slowly coming down, but I think he's got enough time. As you see, I believe that's Brandon Robert on the dirt there. He's dropped a place or 2. So these guys have all picked up a place.
I think Timo is driving, I wouldn't say in survival mode. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of Jean-Ray. And if you look at the last laps, he did a 1:37.4 and Jean-Ray did a 36.9, almost a 37. So that's 0.4 of a second with 2 laps to go, while the one they're on and 1 more for the race leaders. It could be very interesting towards the end.
Yes.
There is Timo, and there is Jean-Ray, number 737. Jean-Ray has Timo in sight. I think, what's your time? This is, if this is less
to go, and Timo's on the final lap.
Yeah, this is the last lap. He just has to keep it nice, clean, healthy, hygiene, and he'll make it to the podium.
It looks like our podium finish. We have Chris Collison challenging his teammate Matej. So they're quite close. Let's have a quick squiz at that.
0.3 of a second. Everything to fight for, and not sure if there's team orders, but Matej certainly driving very well. As I said, I haven't seen him before. Was a new competitor in the series, but certainly taken to this like a duck to water. Chris Collison also well placed in the first race. So Chris will probably in the podium, be on the podium overall, even though he's running in 4th position at the moment.
See, Andre Hildebrand has just got a penalty. Not sure what that would be for at this stage in the race.
Trying to see, Andre Hildebrand is in 17th position, so he's way down, and then gets a penalty, which makes one think, was it really worth it? But we don't know what the penalty was for, so
it might have been blue flag infringement or something like that. I see he's a lap down, so possibly something along those lines.
Yeah. See the back end stepping out, and certainly number 22, Chris Collison catching up to Matej. He's using the back end, shall we say, a little bit more aggressively than what I think car number 22 Chris Collison is doing, as they come up now to start their last lap.
And Timo takes the checkered flag.
I know, then they also for checkers. You're quite right, they're for 3rd and 4th. So Matesh held on to third.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Chris got fourth place. So Willem, will he hold on here?
So far looking very good, but behind him I think Daryl Silverite
is fourth place.
Yeah. So Daryl is fighting off Rion, but oh, what a finish.
Yeah, it was a great finish between those guys. Let's see how Peter Murray comes across the line with Brandon right behind him and just losing it across the line.
Well, the transponder's gone across the line, so he'll be recorded as a finisher, although the pit crew won't be too happy about that. Car 101 is Richard still here. He comes across the line to finish his race. And
now Donnie Stunder crossing the line ahead of Monet de Toy. Let's see where Vessel is. Here comes Vessel Villian as he comes across the line. This High Revolution roadside. That's the second team for High Revolution. Seems to be doing better than the team leader at the moment, James Leach. Struggling in these cars at the moment, but glad to have him with us. Always good to have the Leaches with us. Across the line in 15th place.
If they stay there, we'll even see Harvey. We haven't even given him a mention all night, and he's going to be finishing this race as well.
And Hilton comes across the line, and then we have Andre coming across the line, who's actually already crossed the line. And there we have Harvey Hoos.
Number 13.
It looks like he's on his in-lap. He's actually cruising at the moment.
Okay, so he's at a race that he's at least finished, which I suppose he'll be quite happy about.
And Rudy van der Westhuizen, another driver that's, I believe he's on his last lap still.
Yeah, Rudy is in 19th place. So yeah, he disappears off the timing. So that's that for this race. And again, first, second, third was a great finish. Well, first was a good finish, but second, third, and fourth certainly was well worth watching all the way to the flag.
Alright, I'm going to jump to an ad break and we will be back shortly with our top 3 drivers for the round. All right, we are back, everybody. Welcome back. Of course, this is the completion of round 2 of the Alwin BMW Racing Cup. Season 2 from 2022 carried over into 2023, coming to you live from Brands Hatch in Kent, United Kingdom. I'm joined with our top 3 drivers for the evening, and of course, in our interviews, I'm joined by Sean Woodgate, and our top 3 drivers are Matej Zenko, Jean-Andre de Toy, and Chris Collison. Perhaps, Sean, you would like to do the commentary? So the questions?
Well, the questions are actually quite easy. It's the impression of Brands Hatch as a circuit to drive. Let's start with Matej, as we were discussing it with him. Have you actually been to the circuit in person, or have you only raced it in sim?
I only raced it in sim. The only circuit I have been personally to is Zandvoort, because currently I live 40 kilometers away from it, so I have been there personally, but Brands, no.
Okay. And how do you find it to race in sim? Quite an interesting circuit.
I do love Brands. It's a very intriguing circuit with its elevation changes, the tricky corners, the camber of the curbs is very tricky to master, especially in this car. I have to say this is my first experience with this car, and it's pleasant pain, I would describe it.
If I can just quickly jump in here, Matej, you've just joined the team. You joined Team Harder, and you're now in their second team, Team Harder Curry, and you've jumped in and you've done extremely well. Did you have any other practice prior to this in rFactor? Have you been driving it for a while in other cars or other leagues?
No, rFactor I own for like a month maybe, so no, in rFactor not. But I did a lot of ACC, and it does translate after a little bit of adjusting to the driving style. Did thankfully translate to it pretty well. So, and I know Chris and have been racing with Chris in various other sims for ages, and he's a good teacher.
That's excellent. All right, then over to you again, Sean.
Chris, we've spoken at Brands Hatch before, but I think in the BTCC Championship. How do you find this car around Brands Hatch, the tricky section or the tricky circuit that it is, with the tight corners and the undulations?
Well, to go back to your initial question to Matty, Brands Hatch is my local track. Been there many times as a spectator, driven it myself a couple of times, and this is a really good interpretation that we got here on rFactor. It's great. In this car, it's not an easy drive. It's not the grippiest of things, and it's not easy to overtake. You know, unless you're going to muscle your way in, you really can only get past if you get a good drive out of a corner and on a straight. So we had some long battles today with Jean-Andre, very close with him, very difficult to get past him, and I think he found it the same vice versa. So thoroughly enjoyable, and Brands Hatch, yeah, great, absolutely great on RF2.
Would you say that the weight of the car makes you were saying it's not so grippy? Is that because the car is quite a bit heavier than what you were racing previously?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, exactly that. That's how it feels to me. When you try to attack the corners, it's more, you can't attack the corner. It's more about getting a correct corner speed, keeping it in a relatively high gear, and getting the drive out of the corner.
And then also what we did see is that if you put foot to the throttle a little bit early, it tends to get a little bit tail happy coming out of the corner.
It does, and sometimes actually being in that higher gear can help that because it's a little less twitchy as well. But yeah, that's the thing you've got to be most careful of is on your exits is you can't be too throttle happy. Otherwise, you're just going to send the back out. Even if you stay on the track, you lose your traction and you lose a lot of time on the drive. So yeah, throttle control is very, very important in this car.
Jean-Ray, to you now. Nice to speak to you again as well. How have you taken to this bigger, heavier car? 3-litre, 6-cylinder, massive wheels, massive disc brakes, but certainly a big change from what we were racing previously, or what you guys were racing.
Yeah, no, I really struggled with this car. And I didn't expect to do as well as I'm doing currently, to be honest. I thought top 5 at least. But no, yeah, I really struggled with this car. In practice, I was off permanently. So I'm glad I could keep it on the track during the race. And Team Harder was quite difficult to catch. And race 2, I saw them creeping up on me slowly. So yeah, no, it was quite difficult, but it's fun. The car feels better for some reason after the holidays. I don't know if there was an update or something, but it feels different. It feels better for me. So yeah.
I'm going to just
Just
jump in
question,
real quick.
yes, Dennis?
Talking about the car, yes, there was an update to the car. Some of the guys seem to be liking it, some don't. What is it that you prefer about the updated car?
It feels I have much more feedback on it. It doesn't feel so loose. I can actually control the car.
Okay.
I have much more feedback on it.
Okay, back to you, Sean.
Just the usual question quickly with you, Matej. Tire wear, how much tires did you have remaining?
Oh, to be fair, I didn't notice, but at the end, especially in race 1, I think I had around 88% left. I'm not sure, not absolutely sure, but in race 2, I did have massive damage to the front, and that did eat away the tires quickly. I barely actually finished this race, I'm afraid. So, just if I may, Joandre, great racing with you. Thank you very much. It was very exciting. And
No problem.
yeah. Tire wear wise, it was okay, I would say.
And for you, Chris, the tires?
Yeah, same as Matty. It wasn't a big concern. I think maybe if you got a bit of aero damage, it put them under more pressure. But I don't think I'd dip below 80% come the end of the race. So yeah, they were fine.
Okay, so you can actually drive it even a little bit harder than what you were doing. So
I think the best way to drive the car is not to drive it too hard anyway. Smooth is better with this car. So if you do that, you're also going to do well for tyres as well.
what was nice, and I was mentioning to Dennis in the commentary, is with the software and with the in-car shots, especially when there were dices happening between two cars very close, and we were watching the car that was actually behind, and you see the mistake being made by the car in front, and instantly the pass happens. And that happened actually on 2 occasions, and that actually correlates with what you say, Chris, is that you mustn't drive the car hard. You must actually just stick smooth as possible. And the one pass was actually excessive curbing. I think it might have been at Parakill Bend, and then the change happened virtually instantaneously. And one of them was another one where I'm trying to think who it was now. Number 63. Dennis, help me out here. Let me get to number 63.
Daryl, I think.
Willem and Daryl. And I think Willem drifted wide at the entrance to the pit straight, and Daryl got up along the inside of him and just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there, and the pass only actually happened at turn 1. So it's interesting to see it, as you say, the graphics are very good. You see the mistake being made, and then the pass happens actually quite a little bit down the road. So for me, I was saying to Dennis, except for the Minions car that went off into the sunset of Timo Smit in race 2, these have been 2 races that in my mind have been the nicest and liveliest to commentate on. In the first race we could see all 4 cars in the same view out of the car in 4th place, and in the second race we could see 2nd, 3rd and 4th all together. So it was really close racing and really enjoyable from my perspective.
Enjoyable to be part of. I mean, I always felt there was someone in front of me and someone behind. So there wasn't a moment where I didn't feel like I was in a race, even if it was my teammates. And obviously we were a little more careful with each other, perhaps. But yes, it was competitive from start to finish. So I'm looking forward to watching the stream back later, guys.
Well, I'm very happy you guys are not in my room because I am so sweaty that is impossible.
I know the feeling.
It was fantastic. Thank you very much for having me, and I am happy that Team Harder dragged me along into this league because it's some quality stuff. Nice talking to you.
We're all glad to have you, Matty. Enjoy.
Thanks, Matty.
Just an update before you all leave. The update on the current championship at the moment. So in first place in the championship, we now have Jean de Toy taking over from Chris Collison, who've now moved up to 2nd place. So Jason Underwood is now being pushed down to 3rd place. Brandon Roberts in 4th, Willem Steyn in 5th. So that's the top 5. And Matej, I think you are now up to 17th. You've only done 1 race. But how the championship works is that at the end of the championship, it's 8 rounds, but it's 16 races. You drop your 4 worst races. So you've missed the first 2, so those 2 will just come off your tally at the end. So you actually still very competitive. You're on 64 points, so that's right up there with the top guys.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. And quickly, just congratulations to today's 2 winners who actually aren't with us, but drove brilliantly to win their races. Jason was unlucky in the second one, drove flawlessly in race 1, and same with Timo in race 2. So well played, lads.
And that is a testament to how close this championship is. Both our race drivers aren't even in the top 3.
Yeah.
So great racing and nice close racing. Well done tonight, all of you guys.
All right, guys,
Thank you
if
very
it's all right,
much.
can I quickly say hello to my grandson again, Edward
course.
James? Always got to say hello to him. And to Team Harder's new biggest fan, Jake. Don't stay up too late tonight, kiddo. All right, hope you enjoyed the race. Thanks, Team Harder. Well played tonight. Thanks to the sponsors, Dennis and Sean. Fantastic job. Cheers, guys.
Well done, Chris. And Mateo,
Thanks, everybody.
any shout-outs from you?
I would like to have a shout out to Sam Waldridge, my dear friend that is suffering from being an absolute donkey. Thank you very much. And I will see you again.
And Jandre, any shout-outs on your side?
Thanks to you guys for commentating. It feels good to be back racing. I think the break was a bit too long. And it feels good to be back. So thanks.
All
Well
right.
done, mate. Well done, John Dre.
Well done again, guys. And
Thanks, guys.
we'll chat to you shortly. I'm just going to move you out of the channel while we do our final goodbyes.
Bye-bye.
All right. So it is just the two of us, Sean. So perhaps we can, now that we've done our interviews, we can just have a look at our following round, which will be Mid-Ohio in the United States. So that's also quite a nice track. You have the IMSA championship that races there. So it's quite a well-known track if you know the American circuits. Very, very popular with their sports car racing and GT racing and all kinds of other things. So that should be quite a fun track. I know Jandre Dippenaar has been particularly fast in our practice races there. So he might come good. He's had a few bad rounds of that particular track. Before the car update, he was extremely fast there and a lot faster than the other drivers. So we might see a change again, once again have the field mixed up a bit. So that could be an interesting race.
Yep. That's this coming Sunday.
Yes, that'll be the 15th of January.
It's my turn for roll call in our community watch again, so I'll get somebody to actually stand in for me because this is too good to miss. I've really enjoyed tonight. I can't tell you how much fun. You realize, of course, that Matej and Chris, they have a distinct advantage over the others, is they don't have load shedding. So they will be there for all the races.
Yes, that's true. Although Matej has missed the first two because he's only joined now. But yes.
I wonder what he's doing in the Netherlands. Just interesting speaking to a small world that he's from the Czech Republic and the people that were with me in Cape Town are from Slovakia, which previously was Czechoslovakia. And they had they call it the Velvet Revolution. The people got together, they discussed, and they said, okay, we're going to separate the two countries. And they did so without a bullet being fired or a match being lit or anything like that. And today we have the Czech Republic and Slovakia. And to hear that he's actually in the Netherlands and he's driven Zandvoort. So we might even visit our friends, do a multi-legged journey and pop into the Netherlands first and then go to you actually fly to Austria, to Vienna, and they'll come fetch us in Vienna. So we'll still see. It's a long way away. So another 8 months to go, but yes, we're looking forward to it.
Awesome stuff. All right.
Yeah, this was great racing. Dennis, I can't say it over. Great for commentary. Thanks for the lap scoring monitor. And I must say the combination of having the lap scoring monitor and the car colors, you can speak more sense without having to goggle about it. So it certainly has. Does the link stay the same for the lap scoring monitor for all races?
It does, yes. So all the drivers,
Okay.
Everyone that's listening, anyone who wants to see the feed, we put it in the YouTube feed as well. So anyone who wants to go look at the live timing and all the session timings, they can go see all the information there.
Yeah, because you also picked up very quickly, I think you've done all along, I just never could see it, is you just look down the difference column and you can see who's running close to each other. Then you see, has that guy got an in-car camera, and you switch to that car, and then that makes just the commentary so great. It's almost that this commentary to me is better than being trackside because you're actually having a view out of the car, which makes for, as I said, these two races, maybe Timo going off in the second race, it didn't make the race less exciting because second, third and fourth was still great, but in the first race, it was first, second, third, and fourth, which was stunning racing all the way down to the flag. So, and to hear Matej say, or no, Chris say that the software is such a realistic version because this is his home track and he actually drives it, then for him to say that, then it must really be a big compliment to the software.
Yes, indeed. But
Yeah.
all right, I would like you to stick around, and I would like to speak to you afterwards. But let's say goodbye to everyone else, and we can wrap up the stream, and then we will see everyone next week for round 3 from Mid Ohio. So that will be the third round of our 8-round championship. So until then, we will catch you all. So goodbye from myself, Dennis Mitchell, and goodbye from Sean Woodgate.
Good evening, everybody.